All right, welcome to 101, week 2. So we're cycling around, but I see some new faces, so good deal. I'm glad to have you guys here. We kind of got low attendance tonight, so chip in with questions. It's going to be fun. So turn off your phones.
Yes.
If anybody hears mine going off, it's in there. I apologize because I don't know if I turned it off. Feel free to ask questions. This is a really good one for questions because I'm not really sure how everybody sets appointments. So there might be some good questions, but at the same time, as always, we need to kind of remember this isn't necessarily teaching you how to set appointments. There is some scripting in here, but the majority of the topic tonight is teaching you why and teaching you what to do, and when you're in a certain situation, how do you respond, okay? So appointment setting is the most important skill for you to master. Can I get an agreement there?
Yes.
So everything you do in Primerica is a function of being able to get in front of people. And the way that you get in front of people is how you can determine what you can do in this business. So if you're not on appointments, you can't win in this business. How many people want to win?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Patrick's like,
He's like,
I say amen silently.
You're fine.
I was wondering if it's a trick question.
Right. So appointments, the good news is that appointment setting is a skill.
Mm-hmm.
So what do we know about skills? We know that you don't necessarily have to have the skill when you start something new, okay? So one of the coolest things about Primerica is that we teach you everything you need to know. And that's been a huge blessing in my life, because when I started this business, it was not something that I was comfortable with, familiar with, none of that. But it's like, yes.
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah. So the good news is you have to become a master on the phone in order to get in front of people. And when you are good at making appointments, this business is going to become very, very easy for you. So do we have anybody here kind of in the easy phase right now? No takers. Even Kristen's like,
No, yes.
I'm just teasing. So mastery is very, very important when we're looking at skills. So you know that you're very good at something, that you're a master of something, when you're actually able to do it successfully, right? So you should be able to set 8 out of 10 appointments. So the thing about setting an appointment is that it needs to be a very specific end result. When you hang up the phone, you need to know, was that appointment actually set? Do I contact my trainer and say, hey, I'm going? So do you have a date? Do you have a time and a location? And you need to keep track of all of this. So I actually keep it in a notebook when I set appointments, and actually before I even make the call, I write some of these things on the piece of paper with that person's name, so that I know that I need to remember to ask for the address. That's the thing that I always forget. So you're not going to be anywhere without an address. And if you think they're going to text you the address after you hang up, you're wrong. So, you know, with keeping an eye on those things and just taking care of it while you're on the phone. There was one time actually I was on the phone, I was like, I'm driving and I'm like turning left and talking on the phone, and my kids needed something in the backseat, and I was like, yeah, I have a pen, go ahead. And I just like tried to remember it. But it was easier for me to go back later and be like, you know, when I took your address down the other day, I didn't quite write it down exactly what you, so it was a little easier to go back. Like, she already gave me her address. It just so happened that I didn't write it down. So in the appointment setting rules, that 8 out of 10, if you talk to 2 people in a row and you don't set the appointment, then you should stop and call your trainer. So if you don't do that, you're going to burn through your natural market. So that first 25 to 100 people that you're going through is going to be kind of your natural market. Those are people that you don't really have to work too hard at to get the appointment. But if you're setting it wrong or you're not setting them, then you're going to burn through those people. Agreed? Right? So don't do that. Stop what you're doing. Call your upline. Sit with them. I have actually somebody on my team. She won't make appointments unless I'm sitting across from her. And she said to me one day, she said, I really hope that you don't mind doing this. And I said, you know what? I absolutely do not mind doing this, because every time I sit with you, you successfully set appointments. When you go off on your own and try to do it, you're like all over the place and everything is rescheduling and canceling. So let's take the time to actually do it right. So with that natural market in mind, those first appointments are going to turn into referrals. So we need to keep that in mind, that natural market, there are times that those are people that might not do business with us right away. Ian actually always says another word for brother-in-law is chargeback. So you know, those natural market people might not be business right away, but at least they're going to know what we do, and those people are going to be great referral sources for you to go back to later and say, hey, I just realized somebody that I know that you went to high school with, I need a way to contact them. And it's a little bit easier that they know what you do now. It's not this mystery life insurance sales pitch, right? So what is an appointment? On an appointment, you're presenting, and you're presenting to either a couple or an individual. And you want to make sure that when you set the appointment that they realize this is what it is, right? So what's not an appointment? These ones are a little bit obvious, but kind of, you know, they've all happened to us, I think. When you're on the phone and they're like, oh, I'm going to see you Saturday. We'll talk more about it Saturday. That's not an appointment. So your trainer is not going to show up at Jimmy's birthday party on Saturday afternoon to meet your Uncle Bill. So we're not going to talk to people in person about what we do when they're not prepared for it. Okay. So what's not an appointment is, hey, let's get together for lunch or coffee. I've got a couple of hipsters that have been on my team recently that they're like, yo, so I need to show you my new job, and this lady, she's gonna come and tell you about it, and she's gonna buy you coffee, and so we're just gonna hang out while she talks. And I'm like, no, not gonna work so well. So, it's deceiving. Did you say that?
Yep, yeah. I did.
It's deceiving. So if you don't mention that this is actually an opportunity, this is not just somebody that I want you to meet, this is my team leader, I started something new, you need to mention that you're going to present something to them, because we're not going to ambush those people. So I don't mind knocking on the door when the appointment was set and it didn't confirm, but if the appointment was set the wrong way and they don't know that we're coming for a presentation, then that's not what I want to walk into. So we want to tell them exactly what we want so that we have expectations set up correctly, right? So when you're with that person at a birthday party or, you know, different things like that, the stage isn't set right, and so the end result is not going to be what you're looking for. So if they're caught off guard with a presentation, then, you know, it's not gonna end in your favor. Actually, nothing will probably come of this appointment, because now you're at Jimmy's birthday party and now we're talking about personal finances, and, you know, there's a birthday party happening in the background. So you're really only hurting yourself when you go into presentation mode. Maybe this is a situation where you're kind of new and you've been trying to get a hold of that person, so you're just going to take a few minutes, but your trainer isn't there. I mean, you're kind of throwing yourself under the bus, you know. So even if you were to say to your trainer later, yeah, I think we did a really good KT, you know, we went off into the office and so they want to do the financial analysis. if that were me and I was the trainer, I would go into that person's home with the KT, not with the analysis. I would start completely fresh. Now, if I show up for the KT and they're like, yeah, we're ready, we've got all our paperwork, that's a little different. But for the most part, when I sit down, they're going to be like, yeah, this is something about insurance. Yeah, and we didn't know if we were really interested, but he needs training. That's not really a good setup, so we're going to start from the beginning, right? So, think of it like a game. If you can't win the game, then don't play it, right? So if you know that you're in a scenario where the end result is not going to come out the way you want it to, just don't talk about it. Just remind the people that you're with, hey, you remember that thing that I started? I really need to sit down with you. So after this weekend, let's catch up and we'll pick a day and a time. That's a little bit less like, I'm in your face, right? The other reason is because there's actually two kinds of people that we're looking at. So I don't want my business to be discussed in public. So if you're at somebody else's house, that's not a personal space. That's not a private conversation. Right. And it could be that that's not a neutral environment. So now you're at this picnic or what have you, and maybe that conversation didn't go real well because you pulled them off to the side and said, hey, I'm working for Primerica now, and maybe they have experience with Primerica, and it didn't go well. And now that person's going to publicly announce that you've gotten yourself wrapped up in some kind of pyramid scheme or something. So they need to argue with you, and the whole family's there. And so what you thought was going to be a great scenario, Pete, what you thought was going to be a great scenario has now kind of kicked you in the tail. So when you're making an appointment, you're always going to make a phone call. So like I said, if you run into that person at the family picnic, you're going to let them know, hey, I'm going to call you on Monday because we need to set up this time. And it's in a text message, it's too easy for them to just stop responding. How many people have ever been like, I don't know if that appointment was actually set because they just stopped responding? So when you're on the phone, when you're physically talking to the person, unless they're kind of shifty, like, I can't hear you, I'm going through, right?
Yeah.
So those people are really clever, but I mean, for the most part, when you've got somebody on the phone, they're pretty set on the phone with you. And so when you're on the phone, you have your skill at work. So you can bounce back objections with that person. In a text, you don't know what they're thinking. Right. You have no idea. They ask, they say, what company is it? And you're like, ooh, doggy, do I tell them Primerica, right? So on the phone, it's a whole lot easier. Yeah, the company is Primerica. I'm sure that you've heard of us, but I want to show you my Primerica. So I'm going to come over, and we're just going to sit down for like half an hour, and I'm going to share with you what it is that I'm passionate about, because everybody has an opportunity to have their own Primerica passion. And another reason that you should always be on the phone is because if they start a conversation on email, Facebook, text, you need to convert it to the phone. So there's a little phrase that is kind of redundant, but you can very easily say, it would probably be best if we do this offline over the phone. So it seems kind of like offline, like off the internet, but on the phone. Like that means when I see you at work tomorrow, we're not going to pick up this conversation. So just really, really easy way to convert that. The other thing is when you're on the phone, you can kind of keep yourself safe. But if you're putting things in writing, in an email or in a text or even Facebook message, if you go off the books and you're like talking about the rule of 72 in a text and it's so great we can promise you 12% interest, Kristen's like,
Oh my God,
right?
you don't want to
So
do that.
we need to be compliant, so we shouldn't
Yeah.
be saying those kinds of things anyways, but in a text, there's written documentation, okay? So
Yes.
we're not gonna go out of compliance, but
Mhm.
in a text is where we can actually kind of get our tails in trouble
Sounds like
because,
mortgages, huh? We used to do mortgages, so
Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah, so,
it would be like
you know,
that.
nothing can be quoted over the
Promise,
phone.
a rate.
Even really, I try dealing with life quotes. I don't do a life quote over the phone either. Like, there's no reason. I need to be sitting with you. Because if I give you a quote and you say, wow, that's great, let's move forward, what am I going to do?
Be there.
Yeah. So, you know, just really get in front of the person for those conversations. And it's mistakes out of ignorance, I'm sure, not just malice. And really, compliance-wise, when you're setting appointments, if you're not securities licensed, you shouldn't even be talking about that. That's not part of the phone call for setting an appointment. Like, I don't have my people say it's insurance. I don't have them say it's investments. You know, do my best to kind of stay away from it altogether because people are afraid of money. They don't want their secrets to be exposed. So Lisa, when she came on Friday, she talked about what she has her people say. That's great. If I had, 5,427 names to go through, I'd be a little bit more open as well. But, with people that know us, they should be willing to sit with us to hear us out. So, on the phone, you can control the conversation a little bit better. You can kind of hear the waver in their voice if they're not really sure. You can kind of hear, Primerica. Like, so seems like you've heard of us. So I'd love to share with you my Primerica because everybody kind of can run their own business differently. It sounds like maybe you didn't have the best experience, whatever that was. And I've had people tell me, oh yeah, they wanted to recruit me and they just wouldn't let go. And that's awesome. That is not why I was calling you. I wasn't even gonna bring up the fact that we recruit. So let me sit down with you, share with you what I had in mind. So I'm overcoming that. In a text, Primerica, ? I don't know what that means. Is that a good thing, like you've never heard of us, or is that a negative thing? And in that phone call, you can be professional. So you can set the stage for the presentation that you're going to bring. So with your date, your time, and your location, they know what to expect. You know what to expect. Everybody's on the same page. You can say, hey, grab a calendar, grab a sticky note, use your kid's forehead, whatever. So there are some prerequisites that we can consider. So you have one shot at this phone call. How many people have blown a one-shot phone call? Yeah. So your job is to get an appointment. So there are times when I know this person that I'm calling is going to be a stickler. I know they're going to fight with me on, I got to talk to my wife. I know they're going to tell me they're so super busy because they have 2 jobs. Hang on, I got more slides, Denise. They're coming.
Okay.
So I actually write those things down before I call them. I'm almost answering their objections before they come so that I know what to say when they come, right? So have a made-up mind that you're going to do good things for them. If you are kind of wavering in the fact that you're not sure what we're going to be able to do for this family, they're going to sense that, and they're not going to sit with you because it's not important to them. So if people knew what we would be doing for them, they would be calling us. But it's our job to be that marketer for Primerica. So Primerica's got enough on their plate. They don't need to be out there running around doing all kind of advertising for us, especially since everybody's Primerica business is different. Advertising for me would be completely different than Kristen's business, right? So it's not Primerica not doing the right thing for us. It's Primerica doing the right thing for us by not putting that out there, because if there was a requirement that I had to have my securities license in my first 30 days, then I wouldn't be here still, right? There's a lot of people who wouldn't be here still. So, you know, we just really need to kind of wrap our head around that thing. So, you know, your job on the phone, your job in appointment setting is to set the appointment. Never set the appointment in person and follow those scripts. So every team is going to have their own scripts. Follow them. It's a whole lot easier for me to help correct your mistakes if I know what you said.
Yeah.
If I know what you said or what you should have said and you didn't set the appointment, I can say to you, well, you know, run through, what exactly did you say? And in the first sentence you say, well, I'm working for Primerica now. I'm going to be like, well, that's not what I do. So, you know, at a certain point, you know, your coach can only coach you if you're doing the play. If you're running the play that they ask you to play. That's a lot of plays. So with appointments, we actually have two kinds of appointments. So your kitchen table appointment and your recruit appointment. And every appointment is both, but you need to set them with that particular script in mind. Hannah's not here tonight, but Hannah's a perfect example from my team. Hannah was a recruit, but I knew she was married, and I knew they had a 1-year-old. So when I reached out to her, I said, hey, I heard you're open for something new. You know, I know that it's kind of a little awkward because we don't know each other, but with what we do, we help families, and it would be really, really in your best interest if I could just show you what you could be doing, and it would be best if I showed you and your husband. And she was like, that makes sense. She's like, it's the first interview I've ever had where I didn't have to leave home. She said, do I gotta dress up? I said, I don't care. Right? So, I mean, to be perfectly honest, when you're talking to the right person, that's not an awkward conversation, right? So if you are in kind of an interesting market where you met this person at a networking event and you're like, yeah, you know, with what we do, we help families, I need to sit with you and your husband. And they're like, whoa, no.
So is that why you opted to set, like, you went for the recruiting appointment versus a kitchen table?
So she was actually a Facebook message.
Okay.
So somebody on my team reached out to her husband and said, hey, do you know anybody looking for work? And Michael said, yeah, my wife is actually. So they were kind of the right people.
I see. Okay.
Right? But at a networking event, and I've had networking appointments that were KTs, so don't hear me that that's not possible. But if you go in and you're like, wow, Alan, you'd be great at what I do, you know, we're at this networking event and you're struggling and you're looking for something to kind of beef up what you do, I think that what I do would be great. Let me meet your wife. Alan's going to be like, why do you need to meet my wife? Right? Like, I want to bring him on board. What does that have to do? Now there's like red flags everywhere. But if I said, hey, Alan, you know, I love it that you're looking for something new. I think this would be a great fit. We help families. You're married, right? Yeah? So if I showed you and your wife exactly what we do you think that would give you a better idea of what we do? See the difference? It's less aggressive, but you're still getting the same point across, right? So every appointment should be both, but at Alan's appointment, I'm going to lead with the crusade brochure with the 6 things that we do for people. And then follow up on the back end. So, you know, we close life. I'm going to save and submit later because I'm going to recruit him now. And then I can go back into his life app and I can put him down as a trainee. He didn't necessarily know that was how it was going to roll, but you know, it's just one of those things that's really natural now that I'm sitting in front of Alan and his wife. You're married, right, Alan? Yeah. So, you know, it's more natural when you can approach it that way. The other thing, too, is you might meet somebody at a networking event, think they would be a great recruit, and they're not ready to recruit, but you can still close life because you're there with the husband. So, you know, there's a lot of different opportunities that open up. Kitchen table appointment where they're single or where only one person is present. That's also a no-no, right? So, depending on the singleness of the person, I mean, if they've got kids in a house, then that could potentially be a KT, right? But if you're doing a kitchen table appointment and you show up and, you know, Joe's gone fishing for the day because his buddy next door said, hey, it's a great day, I'm going to pack up and leave because Joe didn't have the courtesy to sit down. How am I going to help him? Right? So your kitchen table appointment, even if you want to recruit that person, you know, they're going to want to talk to their spouse. Or, you know, it wasn't important to Joe because he didn't know what it was, but now that he knows you're going to put together a budget for us, that's great. Well, if you just presented to, you know, to Mary, that's putting the whole ball of worms in her court, and she's got to now convince Joe that this is a great idea. And she explains it terribly, and Joe's like, wow, that sounds like a hack job. We could use the internet better than that lady.
And then she's like, forget it.
Right? So there are some common mistakes. So setting the wrong type of appointment. So whether it's, you know, like we just talked about, whether it's setting a 4 to 5 pointer as a recruit or whether it's setting a 2 pointer as a KT. They can be both, but let's start with what they should be. That's a whole lot easier. Not following the script gives people red flags. The success rate of your appointments goes down. You could be setting them like a mad fool, but they don't follow through because they didn't realize the urgency, they didn't realize the importance, that kind of thing. Setting one-legger appointments. So, you know, you'd have to talk to your team leader about this one specifically because this is kind of a gray area, but you know, with a training appointment, you're really going to get the best training if you can have success, right? So the best way to have success is to set the appointment appropriately and present the way that we're supposed to present. Yes.
What do you mean by one-legger? Sorry.
So one-legger is, you know, my husband and I, we are both supposed to be there, but he's at work late.
Oh, gotcha.
So, you know, as a trainee, you need to be calling to confirm at some point, like, and you and your husband are both going to be there, right? You and your wife are both going to be there, right? Because this is really important. And so when we show up and only one of them's there, something wasn't connected.
Right.
So, one-legger. Good question. So, with your appointments, we're looking at kitchen table appointments are 3s with kids, 4s or 5s, so married, home, kids, age, and employed. Those are 4 and 5 points. And your recruit appointments are 1s or 2 pointers. Those are the easiest people to just meet at the Big B. All right.
Can you go back one?
It's going to repeat a little bit. Does that help?
No. Can you give me the other one?
No. Yes. All right.
It wasn't there.
That one?
No.
No.
One more.
One more.
That one?
Thank you.
There we go. Thank you.
Is the age for kitchen table rec market still 25 to 55 about?
So, good question. What's the age for a good kitchen table?
I've heard several different things from different people.
Okay. So, if people are working for money, they need insurance. Right? So, if they're only working for 2 more years, they need less insurance, but they still have that need, right? So, if they're not working for insurance, if they're not working for money, then it's kind of up to you and up to that trainer. I mean, everybody needs something that we do. It just might change the person that comes with you. So if I know for sure this is somebody that, you know, they are retired but they've worked, 4 or 5 different jobs. I mean, that could be potential investment rollovers, making sure that they're set up for retirement. But if I know that these people are, so it really just depends. If they're married and they have a home, most of the time it's a fine KT, because there's need for what we do, I would say, and I'm your trainer.
I don't think anybody's suggesting that you not do appointments with somebody who's 19 years old or
Absolutely.
64, but I think that when they said 25 to 55, it's kind of, this is the sweet spot.
Yeah.
These are the ones that are most likely that you gotta hit with.
Yeah, good answer.
Exactly.
Yeah, because
Those you want to go first.
I have a 70-year-old that we kind of fought with because he wanted insurance still, and it's like, why do you need insurance? Well, because I want to get married and I'd love to have my wife be left with something. I'm like, that's a great reason, but you're kind of on the upside, so let's see what happens, So, and I've sat with 18-year-olds. Rob's in the other room right now, but we had a recruit appointment with a young girl. She was 18, and she was told she was too young for life insurance. And I was like, well, okay, with that company, yeah, but let's talk about that for a minute. So why do you want insurance? Christina and we have an 18-year-old that's a great client. So, those people, again, you can do both things with that person. So, any more questions?
Next screen, please.
Yeah, absolutely. No problem. So, at a kitchen table appointment, just kind of reiterating this, 3 with kids, they obviously have a need for insurance. 4 or 5 pointers, they obviously have a need for insurance. But it's not just insurance, remember. So we put wills in place for people. We do home and auto. If we're sitting in their home, whether they rent it or they own it, we can do insurance on that house. And most people, for the most part, with kids, they're in the right age group. There's some outliers, but if we're at their home, all of their financial paperworks are going to be there. So if they have questions and they want to send paperwork on a rollover home with you, it's going to be a little tougher to grab that paperwork when we're at the Big B. And so if we're setting a KT and that person is just really not sure if they want it to be in the house, we can meet at the Tim Hortons or the Big B or somewhere, but that's going to be set a little different. You're going to need permission from your trainer to let them know, listen, we want to respect you and your home, but with what we're talking about, I'm going to ask you to bring a couple of things. Any investment paperwork that you might have, your insurance policies, because we're going to offer you complimentary reviews on those things. So there is a way to set the expectation a little differently. And again, with the right person, they're not going to have a problem doing that. I've got a lady right now, she will not let me in her house. She will let me sit in the driveway. And I'm not sure why. She doesn't seem like a hoarder, but who knows? So,
It happens.
it happens. Yeah, I mean, it happens. So, your kitchen table is set with a verbal confirmation on the phone, so you know that both parties are going to be there, that they're expecting some sort of presentation. I love it when people say, do you need like the coffee table moved out of the way? And I'm like, I don't know, maybe. So you're gonna, at a kitchen table, you're gonna lead with products first. And then you're gonna follow up with the recruit question. So you may not have a clue in the world that you would recruit this person, but you can always ask. On a scale of 1 to 10, where do you kind of see yourself with what we've showed you today, making a couple extra bucks on the side? 1, I have no interest regardless of how much money you would pay me, I am not interested. Or 10, this is amazing, where do I sign? And you're just gonna let them tell you. If they're like a 6 or higher, you're gonna move forward with the recruit part, right? Go to class, get your license, it's terrible to go to the class, but you never have to do it again, the whole thing, right? At a recruit appointment, these people are 3s. Going back, I'm sorry. Okay. These people are 1 or 2 pointers, sometimes 3 pointers. 3 pointers are actually, I call them really responsible recruit appointments because there's something about them that makes them more recruitable, right? I don't know if I would do a 4 pointer just as a recruit because there's something out of whack there, but 3s can kind of go either way, right? So you want that person to be at the office or a neutral place. So if you're talking business, but you're sitting at their house and they've got their slippers on, that's not very professional. So you're gonna do that same appointment process with verbal confirmation that the appointment's happening, and you're gonna lead with the opportunity. But either at that recruit appointment or at the orientation, you can let them know, hey, just so you know, these are some of the products and services that you could even actually get credit for right away. If people sit with you and they recruit with you, but they need prepaid legal, that recruit just made $50. What a great way to start your Primerica business with $50 in your pocket, right? So you're gonna follow up with the products that we utilize. Let's talk phone call, all right? So this is where we kind of cross the boundaries of like what your team does. So take this with a grain of salt. This is what Relentless does, okay? So you can take it or leave it, and you can talk to me afterwards. If it's super way off, maybe we need to talk to your upline and figure out what do you do, or what are you supposed to do, all right? So we're gonna small talk. We're just gonna chit chat for a couple of seconds. Hey, how's the kids? What's the weather looking like where you are? It's beautiful here, isn't it, right? So the reason I'm calling, so you need to transition into the purpose. So 20 seconds of chit chat. This could be somebody that you have not heard from in a really long time. You know, it's been really, really good. The reason I called you is because I was thinking about you. I know we have a lot of catching up to do, but the reason I called today, right? Or maybe it's somebody that you've talked to every day. You talk to them 3-4 times a day. So hey, you know, I know that we talk all the time, but the reason I'm calling right now, do you hear how I'm kind of setting it up for success? So now they're listening, now there's a purpose. So, you know, I'm not sure if I told you or not. You know how I told you, you know, I started something new, maybe you heard from my mom, whatever it might be, right? And so you got the body of the script. You're telling them the what for. And then now that you've told them what for, there's one more, guys. You're anxious. Now you've told them the what for, you're going to get them a yes or a no by asking what works better for you and give them 2 options. So if you leave it open-ended, like, don't you think that would be great? They're going to probably be like, no, I'm really busy. But if you say, you know, it would be half an hour, would Wednesday work or Thursday? Then there's some solidity there, and they can actually just decide between the 2, right? There's one more. Picture takers. All right, here we go. So the post close. This is super, super, super important. This is actually the culmination and the summary of everything that you've just talked about, right? So you keep a calendar, right? Because this is really important to me. And I need you to be prepared when we come. My trainer, she's great. You're going to really like her. You know, he has, you know, some really great things that, you know, I just love hearing what he says because it's so helpful for people. Whatever it is about the trainer, so that's set up well. But I need you to have this happen for me, so don't reschedule on me, okay? This is really, really important. You know, maybe this is the field training you need. Maybe this is getting you off your feet and running. There are people for a while that they're kind of in that in-between where they're the ones running the appointment, but I'm kind of watching. So I'll tell them, you know, say that to the person. Tell them, you know, I'm going to bring my trainer, but I'm actually going to be running the appointment and I'm really comfortable with you. So please don't reschedule on me because it means a lot that you're willing to sit with me. And Ian always says, you know, this is amazing. I'm looking forward to seeing you, and I will be there. If you die or I die, then that's what will cancel this thing, okay? And, you know, there's a chuckle at the end because that's kind of a serious thing, but at the same time, it's kind of funny. So people remember this is serious. We need to actually just follow through.
I said, hopefully nobody dies. That would be
I mean, hopefully,
really
right?
like.
So, the full KT script. Take pictures.
Yay.
So your end statement, weekends, weekdays, that might be specific to what you've got going on in your schedule. I've got a guy right now, I'm working with him. He's anytime Monday or Saturday morning. Like, that's it. No ifs, ands, or buts, or otherwise he's not going to be there. So, hey, so the reason I'm calling, I'm not really sure if I told you this or not, but I actually started getting my finance licenses in order and wanted to take a time to pop by, show you and your spouse what it is that I'm doing. If you or even somebody that you know in the future could use what we do, it would be great if you would feel comfortable enough referring us. And so, you know, as far as us getting together, what would work better for you, Monday or Wednesday? And the most important part about the script is no pauses. So I actually had one in there, and I feel like the person could have potentially interrupted me. So if you heard my pause, you can scold me later. So phone calls, do's and don'ts. So don't have silence. So people feel the need to fill in silence. So always fill the silence before they do. So as far as us getting together, what would work better for you, Wednesday or Thursday? And there's the silence, but I have given them a choice now to think. And you need to wait for their answer, because if you keep going, they're going to be like, she's never going to set this appointment because she won't shut up. All right. I actually feel very uncomfortable when I'm sitting when I'm making phone calls. So even if I'm in my living room, I'm like walking around, I'm pacing. Or if I'm at the Big B setting appointments, I'm walking around. These people think I'm nuts, but I don't care. I'm walking around, I'm talking on the phone, and then I sit down and I take my notes. You know, so be in a space where you can do that. There is actually a whole class that we learned a few months ago now, but smile. Look in the mirror when you're setting that appointment. Because if you look like this, then what are you going to sound like? Right? Like, I started this new thing, it's so exciting, and I really got to show you, and it's not exciting. Nobody wants to participate in that. Right? So, you know, I'm not really sure if I told you or not, but I actually started something new. It's going really, really good. I'm looking to expand a little bit, get my name out there. So, you know, I want to sit with you and your husband, show you what I do, and what would work better for you guys. So I'm smiling, even with my eyes. I'm smiling with my eyes. And then when you've asked your question, shut up and listen. On our script, it actually says WFA. And I always wondered, like, what does that mean? It's wait for answer. Ask a question, wait for answer. All right. Your recruit script. So we actually don't put this in our orientation pack. Recruit scripts at first for us are typically really, really comfortable people. Hey, I started something new. I thought of you. You got to sit with me. So that's super easy. You don't need the script for that. But, you know, as time goes on, you're going to want some kind of script. So, hey, listen, the reason I'm calling, I actually want to have you take a look at something that I'm doing now. I think that you'd actually be really good at it. And so as far as us getting together, when can you give me 30 minutes? Tomorrow, Friday? What do you got going on? Right?
Would you typically spend 30 minutes on your appointments and stuff like this?
Oh no, I'm really famous for like 2.5 hour appointments. But I want these
Sometimes
people.
I get long-winded too.
Yeah, I mean,
You wanna
really.
Tell them, man, everything you're doing.
Yeah, I try to be an hour. I mean, 30 minutes is a really good time if this person has no clue, if they're super busy, if, you know, they're the perfect person that's going to lead me to other people. I don't want to waste their time. So 30 minutes. I'm working for Primerica now. Have you heard of Primerica? Great. Let me show you a little bit about it. I think you'd be awesome. You should come to Friday night so you can get a little bit more information. Who do you know that's also looking for work? We can invite them too. Boom, boom, 30 minutes.
And you know what I find too, if I tell them 30 minutes up front, they're expecting in some cases that you are gonna keep the 30 minutes.
Yeah,
At
30
25,
minutes.
at 25 minutes, I'll say, you know what, I promised you 30 minutes. Do I have your permission to go longer?
Yeah.
Never do they say
Yeah.
that.
My
Good.
recruit
Good job.
appointments,
That's a-
yeah, my recruit
I like
appointments
that.
are typically what I say.
Yeah.
If I'm recruiting somebody, I'm either gonna recruit them or not. And, you know, if I stay for 2 hours, I'm probably not. But, you know, if the recruit appointment's going super well right at the beginning, I'm gonna say, listen, you know, I told you 30 minutes, but we should absolutely get you started right now. So the application takes about 15, 20 minutes. Do you still have that amount of time? So, again, the right person is not gonna care. At a KT, I want this person to be fully committed to the process. So, you know, I may throw it in there like, hey, actually I was done like 10 minutes ago, but this is going so well. I think you guys are really receptive, you know, that kind of thing. But if we're yawning and stretching, then we need to wrap it up.
If you get their permission, they're good with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
Can you go back one, sorry? My phone was.
to the do's and don'ts,
Yes, please, I'm sorry.
it's okay,
My phone was acting full, I had to reset it.
right there.
Yep, that's
Okay.
it. Perfect, thank you. very
Yeah,
much.
absolutely. You got the recruit script?
I did.
Okay. All right. So we need to master these scripts. Whatever your script is, a couple of you made eye contact with me when I was saying the script. It's because I know it so well. And I twist the script a little bit, but I'm sticking with the bones. So I'm super uncomfortable saying, I just got my finance licenses. That makes me feel really awkward. But I'm actually running my own business, and I didn't know if you knew that. I'd love to actually just sit down with you and your husband, share with you what it is that I do. So I go outside that box, and I ask my recruits, what do you feel comfortable saying? Did you just get a new job? Are you starting your own business? With some people, the entrepreneurship is in their blood, and when they call their people and say, I started something new, they're gonna be like, oh, what is it now? So that might not be what we want to start with, you know? So you might want to start with, hey, I'm actually getting some finance licenses in order. I found this company. It looks like it's a great opportunity. And so I'd love to share with you. But do you hear the bones that are there? So solidify what it is that you're going to say. And sometimes that takes a little bit of finessing. There was a time for a while, I think, Mike, you did this too, where I'd call Aristida every morning and I'd set an appointment.
Yeah.
Every morning.
And he would, as a trainer,
He'd throw hardcore objections
yeah,
at you.
or he'd be like, nope, and then he would hang up. because he was like, you're not even awake yet. Like,
Are you
so
still in bed? What is going on with you?
all for the purpose of doing it correctly.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know? So
And it's actually really interesting. I have actually offered that to a lot of my recruits and no takers.
it's a surefire way
Yeah.
that you will know the script and the objections, and
Yeah.
you'll be comfortable with it.
So it's real interesting. So, you know, it's one of those things. You got to be comfortable enough with yourself saying it out loud that you can say it in front of other people, right? But when you're talking to the other person, it's not like they're listening in on the conversation. You're actually having the conversation with them.
Right.
So I was always super uncomfortable with Aristida, like, listening to me make the phone call. I'd be like, I'm with my trainer, and, you know, but, you know, for me, that was really uncomfortable. And he was not the trainer that'd be like, this is not going well, give me the phone. He would never do that. I do that. I do that with my people. I tell them, You know, it sounds like you're nervous to call this person, so tell them, hey, I started something new, I'm sitting with my trainer, so that it's not awkward if I grab the phone. Right? So, we need to master these scripts so that they become conversational. So, anytime I get kind of off kilter with my script, I always know I need to go back to it. So, anyways, probably have said too much. So, as far as this getting together, what works better for you? Right? So I have a so button on my people's paper, and when they're getting off track, I'm like, so as far as us getting together, what works better for you? So it can get them on track. No matter where you're at in the appointment setting, you can always say, so anyway, so as far as us getting together, what works better for you? So when you get off script, you can come back. Master the script so that you don't say the wrong words. So I have an opportunity for you might put people on guard. If I'm not looking for an opportunity and somebody says I have an opportunity for you, I'm like, I'm so busy, I don't have time for you.
Yep.
Right? There's a business that I just started. I want to recruit you. I mean, there are only so many people that works for. Especially on the phone. Like, there are absolutely people that I have sat with on a one-on-one, like a networking kind of thing, and I've said, listen, I would love to recruit you. I don't know if you want to be recruited, but that's an in-person kind of thing, because you got to look at their face. They're either going to be honored or they're going to want to run. Okay. I'm building my team that screams pyramid, right? People run away from that. And you're going to want to know your close very well. You're going to assume that these people are meeting with you. You're never going to ask, so what do you think about this? And you're never going to ask, so I think that you'd be great at this, don't you think? Like, they could potentially say no. Right? So, yes questions. You know, it's going to be an honor to share with you what I do. I would really be looking forward to helping you, and if I could help you in some way, that would be great, right? That's a yes. Like, what are they going to be like? No, it would not be great if you helped me. And if they say that, they're not the right person. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say, instead of what do you think, you can replace it with what did you like best? You know?
On a phone call, though?
No, I mean, just in general.
In the appointment, yeah. I mean, what?
So kind of like an out night or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, absolutely. What stands out to you the most? Do you feel like this, you know, would be an opportunity that I could teach you how to do? Those are the yeses that we're looking for. You know, because what are they going to be like? No, you wouldn't be able to teach me how to do this. Like, they're not going to tear you down. Well, they might, but they shouldn't want to tear you down. The next thing, so you want to really know your closes, but the next thing is you really want to post-close. This is where most people have a problem. Reschedules, not having it on the person's calendar. Unless you die or I die, then we'll be there, right? And there's kind of a little, right? So, post-close is where most things fall apart. So you can have a great appointment script and then you can say, all right, thanks, bye, and hang up, and that appointment is not going to happen. There was no solidity to the end, okay? People need to see what we do. You need to have an intrinsic belief that what we do is right for people. Otherwise, you're really going to struggle getting in front of them. So they need to know what we do is good. That will give you the confidence on the phone that you will not be for sale. So if you're calling somebody just because your trainer said to call them, but you don't think they're going to bite at what we have, why would they sit with you? I actually was training somebody and they made a phone call and they were like, I know that you work for Ford and I know that you are probably great because Ford has the best benefits. I'm like, how is that guy going to sit with you? He is not going to sit with you. You just lifted him up so much. He doesn't need you, right? So people need what we do. They need to see what we do. And Schedule your own FNA and do what it says, because when you're doing the FNA, how many people have not done their FNA? Okay, so when you have not done your own FNA, you are not really sure how we're going to help those people.
That's right.
I have people who say, I did this KT, but they didn't have any debt, so I didn't schedule the KT or the FNA. I'm like, so are they going to have $1 million for retirement? Well, I don't know. We didn't talk about that. Well, that's what the FNA is for. Well, I'm not securities licensed, so we didn't talk about retirement. Well, bring the securities person to your FNA. If you didn't schedule the FNA, how are you going to do any kind of business with these people? Well, we closed life. Okay, so what are we going to do then? If they don't have the money for it, they're going to cancel. We need to show these people they have the money for what we just asked them to pay more money for. I find a lot of money in people's FNAs. And you need to be a client first. You can have small applicable products. I can't think of anybody on my team who doesn't have something in place. Something. I've got people who can't have insurance for whatever reason, but they have BLPP because they need to know what the process is like. And for the most part, people that you know are going to do well and stick in this business are going to be people who are going to be great clients because they see the value of what we have, right? And when you talk to these people, you can honestly say to them, just trust me, just sit with me, this is going to be great, you're going to love it. You need to see this. So when you're convinced, you can convince without convincing. Okay. So people need what we do. What we do is right 100% of the time. We're not inconveniencing people. I mean, if you did your FNA, you'll see, I mean, Paul and I have very little debt, but we could potentially pay off our mortgage in 12 years. And we just signed for it last year. So, you know, do that FNA. People would love to see how that works. If you're reluctant at selling your family and friends on things, then this business is going to be tricky for you. But if you're forced to sell something you don't believe in, then you're not going to do well anyways. If you work in a carpet store, but you have terrible memories of how carpeting felt on your knees when you were crawling around as a baby and promised never to have carpet in your house, how good are you going to be at selling carpet? You're not going to be very good. They might put you in the hardwood area, but for the most part, people in carpet need to sell carpet, right? So people don't like sales tactics, but when you're a firm believer in what we do, there's not going to be anything salesy about you. Right. There are times that my people tell me, you're just so passionate. And it's hard because I have to remove the passion sometimes because the passion comes off as pushy, right? But I'm so convinced that they need what I do that I almost don't want to leave till they just do it, right? So we rescue people's lives financially. We help people to move forward in a way that they never considered before. And so people need to know that that is a possibility for them. So what we do is write 100% of the time. There's some different stuff in here. We are not inconveniencing people. So if their schedule is super, super chaotic, listen, all I need is 30 minutes. You've got to see this, because as soon as you see it, you're going to realize you're not wasting your time. When you're making that appointment, you know, you are going to sit with me. You are going to talk to me. I am going to talk to you about what I do. You need to have that conviction about you. And I am not for sale on this. I am going to figure out a way to sit with you. I might need to come over at 1 o'clock in the morning. I was talking to Pete the other day. We had a funny one come up, and you know, there is a way for every single family to sit down with us. There is a way, you just have to find it. And when you have that crusade inside of you, it's going to be a whole lot easier. You're going to go outside that box. And, you know, I tell people, listen, evening appointments are great for me. You know what's even better? When my kids are already in bed. So I'm assuming that's great for you too, right? So I'm going to come by. It'll be like 9 o'clock, 9:30. I'll text you when I'm in the driveway. If the kids aren't in bed yet, I'll wait. I want them to be ready for me to sit with them. So going over some objections with that phone call and with appointments, kind of both. You're going to always affirm what their concern is. You know, I totally hear you. I absolutely want your husband to be there also. So, you know, let's just kind of tentatively, what would generally work for you guys? Do you think Sunday afternoon or Sunday evening? Okay, so generally Sunday evening would work better for you. Before dinner, or do you think maybe he would feel more comfortable after dinner? Because I want him to be totally on board with this. So you're reassuring, but you're coming to a close. Objection is to test your confidence. They are trying to just sniff you out and find out how serious you are. Write your objections down on little cue cards so you can be flipping through them. I actually have appointment objections in a little cheat sheet in my notes in my computer. They can't see what I see, right? And then always go to, so as far as us getting together in that appointment setting. I need to talk to my spouse, so here's some common objections. We'll just kind of flip through these. So totally fine, I really want them to be there also. Just generally, if we had to pick a time, was there generally a better time on the weekdays or on the weekend? Talk to your spouse. If for some reason that doesn't work, let me know 2 days and times that would work, because I want to make sure that I give you guys some priority in my calendar. So if you could give me an option, then I can, you know, make sure that that works for me too, right? Objection of I'm too busy. I can really, yes.
Asking them not to text me, but call me at that particular point in time. If for some reason this is not going to work with your spouse and you have to reschedule, calling me back with 2 times and that's really great and necessary. But telling them, you know, call me on the phone, don't text me.
I think that depends on the person too, though. I like it when people call me also, but there are people that I know are never going to call me, so if they're at least going to text me, I'll make that work. So, but yeah, I agree, getting them on the phone would be better.
Yeah, the reason that I was told this and the reason I believe that you should do that is if for some reason you get together with the wife and you decide, you know what, we really just don't want to listen to this, they call and or they text and cancel. Yeah. If they text you and cancel, you have no opportunity to talk with them.
There's actually
what their deal is.
There's a couple people in Auburn Hills that actually say, you know, I'm actually calling from my work line, so this number doesn't accept text. So you're gonna have to call me back with a couple of dates and times that do work. So, you know, but if you know the person super well, then they know it's your text, so it is what it is. But yeah, I agree, get them on the phone. Anytime you have them on the phone, you have more control, right? This objection, I'm too busy. You know what, I really appreciate that. I know that you're super busy. I'm busy too, you know, but generally when people tell me that, they're actually saying that what they think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come over and I'm gonna sell them something or waste their time. And is that kind of what you're feeling? And they're gonna yes or no you. They could no, and they could be like, no, we just really are super busy. And I'm gonna say, well, listen, I want to not waste anybody's time. I need 15 minutes. If after 15 minutes you are totally not interested, I will pack up my stuff and I will take off. And I will stick to my word on that. I've had that happen twice and I stuck to my word. And one of them turned into a KT later, and it was great. They're great clients. So, you know, just really, I need to get in front of you. How can I make it happen? What company is it? Thank you so much for asking. The company that I actually represent is Primerica Financial Services. I'm sure that you've heard of us, right? So as far as us getting together, what would work better for you? So what is it that you do? That's a great question. Talk to your upline about this one. I actually help people make money work harder for them. Would you prefer that your money work harder for you, or do you want to work every day for the rest of your life? So, with that in mind, that's it. Any other objections that you guys have real quick? Yeah, go ahead. No, you're fine.
No, I guess my objection, and I do apologize for coming in late.
That's okay.
My objection is wondering, I'm coming across and going against many people that's like, oh, I prefer universal or whole life. So it's dealing with that aspect.
Okay, so number one, why are you talking about that on the phone?
No, not me. Them. They're like, oh no, I'm like,
But how did you get to that on the phone?
No, we'll speak in terms of like what we're talking about insurance. It would be
on the
policy.
phone or at their table?
Both, on the phone or
Okay,
or
so
at the
one
table.
on the phone, you shouldn't be talking about insurance
Okay.
at all. People that I sit with have no idea that I do insurance.
Okay.
So talk to your trainer about that. How should you be setting appointments so that you don't have that objection right away? Because if you're in front of them, you can teach them what whole life actually looks like, and that's not an objection anymore. I did a presentation on Friday, just kind of going over why Primerica at the KT, Ian's presentation on YouTube. But when you teach the whole life process, you can actually say to people, you know, I'm going to just teach you real quick what I know about whole life. I can absolutely tell you, most people, when I explain this to the end, they do not understand this product and they are not interested in having this product anymore. So if you can sit with them, you can teach them. But if you're on the phone and you're talking, yeah, I do insurance and you know, we do only term, and they're like, oh, I like whole life. You're
Well, no, that's, I mean, I know you're summing it up, but that's not how it went, but that's just the objection that I came across recently. But face to face, or, you know, you do have, I get that quite a bit, especially from someone that, you know, they may have previously had a whole life, or the parent had a whole life on them, or universal. Yeah. So, and it's like how, just coming across, that's been pretty much my biggest obstacle.
Who's your team leader?
Asadius.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Who's training you right now?
It would be Assad, cause he's working with me and Stacy, Patrick.
Okay. Maybe Kristen, can we talk to you after about that?
Yeah.
Is that okay? All right. Any other objections? Any questions? I think they're done. Yeah. All right.